For our shoulder internal and external rotation test, we want to start by lying on the ground and trying to retract our shoulder blades a little bit. And basically this is just so that you can feel your whole upper back on the ground. Once you've got that position, then load your elbows out to the side so that they're straight out from your shoulder. If you started with your elbow further this way, it makes one of the tests a bit easier and one of them more difficult. If you start with your elbow further up here, it does the same thing, but in the opposite way. So you want to make sure it's straight out from the side. And as you rotate, just make sure, just check on every now and then and make sure your elbow's in the same place, because you're trying to rotate around one particular point. You're not trying to cause the arm to go up or down as that's happening. So internal rotation is how far the wrists can go down towards the hips without your shoulder coming off the ground. So if you can feel your shoulder coming forwards as you're doing that, that's your shoulder blade moving. That's not the rotation of your shoulder in its socket. This is more from a perspective of so that you can tick off exercises that you can do in the gym. And this is where we put the standards at. So if you can get to 45 degrees on the internal rotation test, which I'm just shy of, if you can get to 45 degrees, which is probably closer to about here, without the shoulder coming off the ground, then that would be 100%. Because anything more than that, unless you have a specific sport, when we talk about very generic gym-based exercises, that would be sufficient for almost all the gym exercises that are commonly used to build muscle mass, to get strength and be functional. So if you can get the wrists to a little bit lower than this is showing here, then that will be 100%. So I'm going to give myself a pretty stingy, I'm going to be stingy with myself because I know I need to work on it, 70%. The external rotation test is just going in the opposite direction. And the objective here is as the wrists come down to the ground next to your head, can you keep the lowest rib on the ground? Because some people, if they don't have external rotation in the shoulder, they will try to flare their rib cage, or your ribs will come off the ground and your lower back will come off the ground more because you don't have the sufficient range. And the minimum standard we look for here is, can you rest your wrists on the ground without too much stress, without too much effort? So this is what we would consider the minimum for people who want to do anything overhead. So any kind of overhead press, shoulder press, dumbbell press, etc. Especially if you want to get into the world of weightlifting, you want to do overhead squats, this is a definitely minimum standard that you want to be focusing on. The internal rotation is more important for other pressing movements like dips. A lot of dumbbell bench press and a lot of tricep isolation exercises require a little bit more internal rotation to be able to get them more effectively. So from the percentage score of my external rotation, which is this way, I'm going to give myself 100% because it's very comfortable for me to get my wrists to the ground like that without too much effort.